is up, RotoGrinders? Happy Monday. It is a funky start time. This is why you hit the like button. This is why you turn those notifications and you subscribe, because you know we're going live at 4:50. It's supposed to be 4:45, but we're talking a little bit of pre-show. Everybody had to talk about their weekend bets. We got all that out, got all the kinks out of our system, and I guess Kirkwood, you had yourself a nice little weekend when it comes to the UFC streets. Shout out to you.
Betting wise, yeah.
No, DFS wise, not so much.
I only played one lineup, but I sat on the nuts at one point in time, but I changed it. It was really credit to RG. The optimal lineup was really close to the RG optimal. It was just a 2v2, I think. It may have even been just a 1v1, but it was copy log over the Cesar Almeida. But I mean, shout out to the projections team for that. They crushed it this week.
And MMA, you gotta hit the nuts, right? Basically, it's nuts or bust for MMA, and that's my understanding.
Yeah, so sometimes I play around with like 6-man parlays. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, if I'm gonna see how much it pays, like in comparison, like.
Bringing it, I thought you had more of that story. That's just kind of cut
around parlays.
Okay, that stopped abruptly. I thought you had a whole thing, but never mind. No worries. Everything else good, Kirkwood? Everything all good? Happy Monday.
It's all right. Everything's good.
All right. Gonna bring in
happy to spend it with you. My Mondays with you, Dean, always.
Likewise. And the chat. Kindly, if you guys are in the chat, do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications again. People are not even realizing we're live. We're live here in part, mostly because the slate starts earlier today. 6:40 is first pitch. 8 game slate. Half of these games are played in domes, and the ones that do not have domes, not much as far as weather lurking out there. There is a Coors slate. We have a lot of extreme umpire stuff, if you're into that kind of thing, for just such a small slate. I think it's like 4 or 5 extreme umpires we'll talk about in a second. A lot of good pitching. There is a game in Coors. We just got that lineup for Cincinnati that just dropped a few minutes ago. We got Detroit's lineup as well. We have most of the lineups coming in. We have a couple 2K cheapies that seem to be live. We were talking about this pre-show. Torkelson was set down for Detroit. The prospect they called up is in the lineup, batting about 6th or so, DHing. David Dahl still plays baseball professionally. He'll be doing so tonight for the Philadelphia Phillies because they sent down who they sent down? They sent down somebody. Somebody got hurt. Was it Stott? Somebody got hurt for Philadelphia. I don't recall who it was, but yeah, Dahl. No, it's not Stott. It's somebody else.
Marsh,
all right,
maybe.
Keith. That's who it was. Brandon Marsh. Thank you. What's up, Keith? How's Monday treating you? Things all right?
Yeah, Monday's good. Over the weekend, had a rough sweat with the squad on a Justin Steele over outs. The rain just would not go away Saturday night in Chicago. So brutal one there. But my UFC betting card was pretty good as well. So we made it back in UFC, but a little bit of a struggle in the baseball betting streets over the weekend. Squad was off to a good start. I think we had 3 picks in a row before that. The weather kind of got Steele there. And Suzuki just dropped the easiest fly ball imaginable in right field that crushed us. Like it was brutal, but
it was an outfielder. Is that what it was?
It was brutal.
Yeah, then he made up for it with the grand slam. Yeah, it was Steele over outs, and just, I mean, he looked awesome in the first. He came out, he struck out the side, and then the conditions got too bad. Just lost the command kind of in the second inning and on in that game, and the defense didn't do any favors behind him either.
You follow the Cubs more than I do, but I feel like something weird has happened with like every Justin Steele start this season. Like, he's either getting injured or there's been, I think, a couple times he had to deal with weather or rain delay. Maybe one time a rain delay where he couldn't come back. I feel like there's been some funky stuff with him. He's had some bad luck. Maybe you can agree with that or disagree with that. That's just what I'm thinking. Peripherally, I feel like he's due for some positive regression.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason I love the bet so much, is it like he really looked like he had figured it out. Like last year, he was an elite pitcher, dealt with all kinds of funky stuff this season with the injury on opening day, kind of a freak thing that delayed him a month. And then they brought him back with just a 60 pitch rehab start or something like that. So he took him 2 starts to get ramped back up. Then he cruised against the Braves through 6 innings and just got absolutely pummeled in the 7th. Of course, the Cubs bullpen is awful as well. So every runner he left on base there came around to score. His overall line looked bad, but he actually pitched really well. dominated the Brewers in the start after that. So it's like, okay, this Justin Steele's back. Here we go. And then you got the weather game here in this last one. But yeah, if we get Steele anything under 17.5 outs again in his next start, I'll be right back on that over, because I think he's got it figured out now.
Today is not a movie Monday. It is Monday, but we're not doing movie Monday today. In place of movie Monday, we're doing Fleet Thursday. We're giving away a week free of RG Premium. You get yourself access to Lineup HQ and SimLabs and all the bells, all the whistles, all the articles, the optimizer, the ownership stuff, the projections, everything you can think of: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NHL. That's the same thing. WNBA, all the sports with the exception of NASCAR. Maybe we should give out the first clue before 5 o'clock. It's actually not going to help you, but we're going to give it, because we made this game too easy last time. But how this works, you guys know how this works. 5 words, 5 individual clues. Every single time a clue drops, we go ahead and have y'all guess in the Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Jump in the live stream chat channel and tell us what athlete we're talking about. Now we're going for athlete. This is not a movie. Tell me what athlete we're talking about. The first clue, again, not going to help you, but feel free to guess, is football. A lot of football athletes. And that's FOOTBALL, just to be clear. So it makes it a little bit easier. It's not FUTBOL. It's football, FOOTBALL. But feel free to give your guess for the old movie Monday. Nope, it's not movie Monday. It's Fleet Thursday. All right. Also, we'll talk about some movies later on in the show. That's why we don't want to dub up movies, and you guys don't even know what the tier category is today. I'm sure you'll have some thoughts on it. I'm sure the chat will as well. Just got some lineups coming in, by the way. Arizona just dropped. Marte leading off. Moreno, the catcher, batting second. Peterson third. Walker fourth. Gurriel fifth. McCarthy, Suarez, Carroll dumped to the 8th spot. He's batting 8th tonight. I guess that's probably in part to Eric Miller drawing the start, a lefty. I think that's a reaction to it. Also because he's been terrible this season. What do you think, Keith? That's kind of a sharp move by Arizona, I think, to kind of get away from Eric Miller, the lefty opener. But he is, if somebody told you Corbin Carroll's batting 8th this season, you'd think something's going on.
Yeah, it's been a weird season for him overall. He had that shoulder injury in spring, and they haven't really said anything about it, but you just have to figure that his shoulder is just not 100%. Been a really rough season for Carroll. I agree. I think it's sharp dropping him down. Like, even when he was awesome last year, he still was much worse against lefties. So avoiding the lefty in his first at bat, I think, is definitely a sharp move.
Cincinnati lineup also came out too. We'll talk about the Reds a lot in this on this show, I'm sure. Friedel, De La Cruz, Candelario, Steer, Fraley, Stevenson, Martini, India, and then Benson. De La Cruz, the most popular hitter on the slate, and probably the coldest hitter in all of baseball too. So you can't be both. If you're on team like cold and you're on team Coors, you got to make a decision, Keith. I don't know what takes precedence over the two. De La Cruz, ever since he had that 4 stolen base game, he's been a disaster. He's been horrendous. I tweeted out earlier today. His WRC plus in the last, it's like 17 games. Let's not lose our minds. But his WRC plus is like 9. When it's in the single digits, that's kind of a problem. It's hard to actively have a WRC plus that low. We'll discuss that later on. Kirkwood, everything all good over there? Is he having child issues?
So this is officially a problem over here now. This is the first day that he's figured out how to jump out of his playpen where I keep him. I just went over there. He was out of the pen because I heard things rustling around, and he got a Dunkin' Donut out of a bag off the kitchen table.
Nice.
Score one for Dylan.
There you go. On brand, by the way. Dunkin' Donuts, of course, in the house there in Boston. Would you got a plan B? Is there a movie you can fire up? Is like Paddington 2 available?
I have.
That's all he watch.
That's on. The movie's on. He's watching The Incredibles Part 2 right now, which he loves, but he loves food. He loves donuts more. So
yeah, and he can combine those two. Actually,
we're gonna have to battle.
It's funny you say The Incredibles too, because that's kind of it sort of alludes to today's topic. We'll talk about it later on in the show. Today's topic, when it comes to the tier rankings, it's not The Incredibles, it's Incredibles 2. All right, let's give me the screenshot here, Kirkwood. As far as today's slate, a lot of good pitchers, a game in Coors. And we did get some interesting umpire stuff if you're into that kind of thing. I think it was like 4 or 5 extreme umpires. Kind of run those down in a second, but it feels like a slate where pitching sort of is going to, and there's scores. Like, you have a 5 total there for Cincinnati, not a monster total, 10.5 in Colorado. Houston's a good offense, 4.5 total. No Dodgers, no Braves. Probably a good thing there's no Braves. I've lost too much money with them so far this year, but eventually we're going to make it all back, I suppose. What do you have as far as your screenshot today? Kirkwood, feel free to start us off.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said it. We've got high-end pitching. We've got Wheeler. We've got Scuball. We've got we got Grayson Rodriguez against the gutless Toronto Blue Jays. We have some other good arms lower that are cheaper. Gosman looks pretty good at that price, even though it's a tough matchup with the Orioles, and his Ks haven't been quite the same this season. But long-term track record, he's a screaming value for 8K. Then there's Verlander, who gets the not as gutless St. Louis Cardinals as much as they were. They've been heating up a little bit.
Added some guts.
Yeah, they've added a little bit of guts, but still a good spot to target for Verlander, who's been playing well but had some cupcake matchups. So we'll have to do that. We got the game in Coors as far as bats. As far as like secondary, as far as like any other place, I mean, I do like Coors tonight, and and then there's the Phillies against Bryce Wilson. The temperature's starting to get a little bit better around in some of these parks, so we'll touch on some dew points and whatnot. But there's a lot of ways to go. I can't really find the real cheap pitcher that I want tonight. So maybe
I don't think you need them because we have some cheap hitters.
Now with David Baby Doll back in the lineup for 2K, used to be David Baby Doll. This you can sell me on this prospect for Detroit.
I mean, he's 3K and he's batting like 6 or so against Eovaldi, who's kind of reverse splitsy. I don't know what's the sales pitch. Malloy is his name. He is, for some reason, on our lineups page, he's kind of like, they just, when they're not available in the pool, they kind of like blur their name out. But I'm seeing him on DK, so he is 2K on DK. And Torkelson was sent down if you guys missed it. He's one of their bigger prospects in the system. He's not like incredible, 24 years old too, and it feels like a now or never. But according to Fangraphs, like 60 raw power, 40 speed, so a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, and he's 2K. And he was trained professionally to swing a bat. Like, I don't know what the sales pitch is otherwise. Eovaldi is not a great pitcher. He's fine, professional pitcher, but not something we're afraid of.
Eovaldi is a very good pitcher. But he's
on
also
this slate,
and just in general, if he was full go, he would be up as one of the top pitchers on the slate against Detroit if it wasn't coming back from injury and have a low pitch count. He wouldn't be. He's not quite the Wheeler's tier, but he's a good pitcher. I like Matt Waldron. We'll get into, but I love a dancing knuckleball. I love dancing knuckler, and his has been looking good. And it's he's throwing it up to about 50% of the time now, and he had a big start in the last start by increasing it. So until we can see him start getting crushed, like if teams can hit the knuckler, if they can't hit it, he's going to have some really really high games if they can't hit it. So I think he's a good play at 7,400 tonight on DraftKings. But I don't know. There's a lot of ways to go.
What are you seeing here, Keith, as far as a slate? By the way, McMahon not playing today, left on left. No Ryan McMahon. CJ Abrams also, they just cut out the middleman because they basically been starting him and then yanking him before the game actually starts. They've been scratching him, 2 games in a row over the weekend. I don't know. Maybe they're going to consider putting him on the IL. I think it's a shoulder with Abrams, but he's not playing baseball tonight for Washington. No Veerling for Detroit as well. Kind of another one that you might have expected to play, not playing this evening. Keith, what do you got as far as the screenshot? I think it's kind of straightforward of at least who's in the bucket and who's not in the bucket.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of viable pitching on this slate. It all feels pretty strong. Wheeler and Skubal are definitely the two most talented pitchers, but I think there's upside all throughout the salary range. I'm going to be with Kirkwood on Waldron. McGill looks way too cheap on DraftKings. So there are a couple of cheap options there. And then the offense is pretty clear as well. For me, it's Coors. I really liked Philly early in the day. Unfortunately, Milwaukee is being sharp today as well and going with a lefty opener. So a little bit of a downgrade to that Philly stack for me, but still very much like them. San Diego, another one of those gutless teams that we're going to have to talk about. I think they're in a pretty good spot today. Some interesting notes here on Tyler Anderson as we get deeper.
If they're in a good spot, it's like they're just the most gutless team you've ever seen.
It's wild because then you look at their overall season stats. And
I know they look great. They look great. And then you just dump your money. It's like, all right, tonight's the night.
I was digging through some stuff today. I did tweet it out earlier today. Do you guys see who the best team in baseball is versus lefties when it comes to ISO and WOBA? It's not if you saw my tweet, whatever, but it's not a team you'd expect. Like if you were to actually guess without that sort of like leading the witness, it'd probably take about 20 teams for you to think of them. If you want to throw out some names, feel free to throw out some names in the chat as well. But you guys got anything? They're not facing. Okay, they're on the slate, but they're not facing a lefty today. So there you go. That makes it pretty easy for you. Now you kind of figure it out. They're not sharp as far as trading players they know are not going to resign with them. How about that? That's one that.
Now we know who it is.
Yeah. Mr. Richard, Eric, Nathan. Yeah, the Angels. Not the biggest sample in the world, but like against lefties this year, active roster, they're the best team in baseball when it comes to they're tied, I guess, with Baltimore, I think, in WOBA versus lefties. But I just thought that was kind of a wild stat. And Trout in his 13-game sample is the worst hitter versus lefties. It's fun with sample size stuff, right? We're 2 months in, and they only have like 300 or 400 bats versus lefties or active roster, but still, just thought it was interesting. But they're facing a righty and a righty knuckleballer. You never really see the knuckleball so much these days, and I think it was sharp of Waldron as well to say, screw it. Like he used to throw it, 30% of the time. And now you're talking about 50%. He's basically mixing it in there as far as his knuckler. He's changed his pitch mix. Somebody had a question in chat, by the way. I feel like this is a good Keith question. Let's see. Andrew was asking this, Keith. I think you'd have the answer for this. Is there a way to check out teams versus a specific pitch type? Swing strike, whiff rate, hard hit. Like how does this team fare against a fastball or a slurve or a cutter? Is this something we can find in Plate IQ? It is, yes, I believe so. It's not something I really dig into unless I really want to, fully dive in, immerse myself in a particular team or pitcher. Is that something you dive into, and is that something we can actually figure out on Plate IQ?
I don't know about those particular advanced stats, but there are some stats against certain pitchers and their repertoire. Basically, in the drop downs, it's just going to be against all whatever hand pitcher they face this year, and then you can drop down the pitch type as well. We don't have things like whiff rate in there, although, like, I suspect that what's listed there under K percentage is actually a whiff rate because you can't strike out against one particular pitch, or you'd have no sample. So I'm assuming that the K percentage in the drop downs for the pitches is actually whiff rate. But yeah, you can see some stats there. I don't know about the specific ones that he asked for.
Like I put it on slider, and now I put it at like advanced stuff, right? And now like in 24 at bats versus lefties, Kyle Schwarber his 60% ground balls when he sees the slider. It's really, really specific stuff. I think it's really interesting. I just don't know how useful that stuff can be when we're talking about one at bat, two at bat.
Yeah, it's just so hard to get any kind of a sample whatsoever. Yeah, I mean it's really just too small of a sample.
There's also such differences in spin rates on pitches and by pitcher and everything on certain pitches that it unless you keep digging and digging and digging, I would imagine it's pretty useless.
I don't want to say it's useless, but I don't think it's worth. What do they say? The juice is worth the squeeze, that kind of thing. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze in this. And I know I've heard people say teams collectively are bad against pitches, and I don't really fully buy into that concept either. And also so many pitchers kind of like cross over, and like they call this one a slider, but somebody else calls it a slurve, and they're very similar. And there's a lot of gray area stuff there. But again, I'm not trying to discourage people digging in, but we're trying to find like one game outcomes. So many weird things happen, but there is stuff like that there for you if you want to get into it. But and like also maybe like 1 or 2 pitch pitchers, right? Like if you have you're talking about a pitcher that has like basically this is what he throws 80% of the time, then maybe sure, but that's case by case stuff. All right. Speaking of pitchers, most popular pitcher on the slate tonight. So I'm going to give a refresh when it comes to the ownership. 16 pitchers taking the bump tonight. There are a couple openers as we talked about. Opener for San Fran, Eric Miller, lefty versus Arizona. That's one reason why Corbin Carroll drops down to the 8 hole. And an opener there for Milwaukee, Jared Koenig, the lefty, taking on Schwarber and Harper. I assume he's going to be basically done after the first inning. They're saying like in the chat talking about how is the team against knuckleballs. I don't think anybody has like a big enough sample size. We haven't seen a knuckleballer in so long. Stephen Wright was a knuckleballer for Boston. He didn't pitch a ton, but like R.A. Dickey's been retired for a long time. There's just not. I don't know how to plan how to attack a knuckleballer. Keith, do you have a thought on that? It's an interesting idea. I just don't think anybody really has a sample size against knuckleballers.
Yeah, there hasn't been a significant knuckleballer. The 2 you mentioned are the most recent examples I can think of. So there just really hasn't been anybody for the last 5 to 10 years.
Who did he mention?
Okay.
Stephen
Wright, R.A. Dickey, Robert Allen.
No Wakefield?
That's like 20 years ago. That's a long time. 15 years ago. That's a long time
Rest
ago.
in peace. Rest in peace.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Zach Wheeler, most popular pitcher on the slate currently, according to our projections, 37% on DK. Right there with Scooball, 1 and 1A. When it comes to arm talent, Wheeler, one of the biggest, he'll stick around. He'll throw 105, 110 pitches if he's cruising. We're projecting him for 101. I'm kind of surprised Waldron's the next guy when it comes to ownership at 28%, but he looks like the cheapie de facto, SP2 if you want to open things up as far as the bats. I thought Gausman will be more popular here, Kirkwood, 18%, mostly because of the discount of his price, but the matchup's not great, and we haven't seen the best of Gausman. He's 33 now, I want to say, so maybe it's the old father time catching up with him. It's been kind of a dicey year for him, but certainly, once upon a time, an elite pitcher. Speaking of Justin Verlander, that's another guy once upon a time, but it's not really happening so much these days, taking on those gutless Cardinals, but he's 17% owned. The one that I'm most interested in is Mackenzie Gore. I don't really love the matchup for K's. The Mets, while gutless, will make contact, but I think Mackenzie Gore is one of the most underrated pitchers in all of baseball. But yeah, Kirkwood, I'll throw it to you. Do you have a definitive like Wheeler versus Scooball take, or it's like whichever one fits? Are you trying to go double barrel? Or are you trying to fit them both? I don't really have a clear-cut favorite amongst those two. I like them both. I think I had Wheeler ahead of Scooball because he probably can go an extra inning, all things being equal.
Yeah, so they're both not the greatest matchups. Obviously Texas has been, worse this season for sure, but still a good hitting ball team. But I think I would go Scooball. He's earned the track record is obviously there with Wheeler, but Milwaukee does pose a little bit more of a threat. They do strike out. They're right in the middle for strikeouts against right-handed pitching, but they're right at the top for WRC plus. So they're a potent ball team that could get to them. It's, the weather is a little nicer. We're looking at like 76 degrees, a nice dew point. Wish it was a little bit hotter for bets, but anyways, it's not a terrible spot in general for Milwaukee. So I think there's more risk with Wheeler, but the track record's there. But Scooball's earned every bit of praise for this season. I mean, if you put their numbers next to each other, Scooball's got a higher K percentage, a higher called strike whiffs. He's got lower walks by a substantial amount. Let's see, decent amount of ground balls. But I mean, he looks. I mean, he's got a 2.58 Sierra too, which is incredible. So yeah. I think I'm selling myself on Scooball as my number one.
Keith, do you have a lean as far as Wheeler versus Scooball? And How much of that is affected by the current ownership projection? Because we have Wheeler at 37, Skubal at 33, basically a coin toss all around. Do you have one guy definitively ahead of the other, or not necessarily? They're both good.
I think they're both really good. They're two of the best pitchers in baseball. I don't love the matchup for either today. They're the highest priced pitchers on the slate and projected to be the most owned pitchers on the slate. So my overall take on it is I'm going to be underweight on both of them. It's not that I don't think they're amazing. I do. I think I can save $1,000 down to that next tier. And I really like the two pitchers in the 7K range as well. So I don't feel the need to go overweight. I will certainly have both of them in the pool because either one of them could be the guy that strikes out 10 and you just need him today. But I don't particularly love this spot for either of these guys. They'll probably be fine because they're both elite pitchers. But I want to take my overweight stances on a little bit cheaper pitching.
I want to hear who that is in just a second, but I do want to tell people I kind of referenced a couple times extreme hitters umpires. We have a couple extreme hitters umpires. It is a Monday. This stuff can change, but as of right now, Kyle Gibson has an extreme hitters umpire, as does Justin Verlander, as does Tyler McGill, as does Mackenzie Gore. Extreme pitchers umpire. There's two extreme pitchers umpires as well. One in Coors for Feltner and Abbott, and the other one for Gausman and G-Rod, Grayson Rodriguez. Who are the ones you want to be above the field on here, Keith, when it comes to the next level? Are you going to be well above the field on Walder? Walder's not going to be sneaky at all, according to our ownership stuff. He's in the 7K area. I'm guessing you're with me with Gore. Are you going to be over the field on Gore? Or no?
Yeah, I will be over the field on Gore and Grayson Rodriguez. I think they're just they're both really young pitchers. In a year from now, we could be talking about them right in that same tier with Wheeler and Skubal. Both of these guys have stuff that is that good. Not the best strikeout matchup for either of them, so I don't love their matchups either. But they're a little bit cheaper than Wheeler and Skubal, and I think the talent level is nearly on the same level. They're not quite there yet, but they're on their way there. Just two really talented young pitchers that I like a good deal, and am excited about their future. So I'll save a little bit of money, go overweight on both of them.
Kirk, what your thought in the next tier?
Yeah, so have we talked? I mean, sure, Grayson, all the talent in the world. I can get behind it, I guess. Did get dinged up a guy the Red Sox a little bit, but also had a bunch of Ks, so that worked out okay. Have we talked about slipping Tyler McGill?
Yeah, I mean, no, not really. He's at the highest K rate in the slate, but it's a small sample thing, but it's kind of goofy because his swinging strikeout rate suggests it's probably been a little bit of luck induced. But no, we haven't talked about him. 31% Ks in the season. It's only 16 innings though. 1.69 ERA, good for him. But feel free to talk about Tyler McGill. Go for it.
I mean, Mackenzie Gore has been great too, so that we got to mention him, or I have to mention him. But yeah, so I mean, you can do a lot if you can get away with like Tyler McGill or Matt Waldron on this slate, or even both of them together. If you look at the numbers, like you said, but his swinging strike rate's good at 12.1%, and he's faced two pretty tough teams. And I know Cheese mentioned that in his article as well. Cleveland and the Dodgers. Now, obviously, if we look back to last season, he's certainly overperforming. So if you combine, since the beginning of last season, he's sporting like a 20% K percentage. But I guess Cheese was saying he has two new pitches, and so maybe there's something here. So this isn't a bad slate to try to do it. I mean, if you're just looking at those two games, he's got a 31% K percentage, a 12% swing to strike rate. He's got a 3.28 SIERA. I mean, everything looks great in those two starts. Extremely small sample, but I'm willing to ride him. I'm willing to take a shot here with him and Waldron and get all the bats.
I would also mention, by the way, no CJ Abrams weakens that lineup. Drew Millis.
I'm not sure if it weakens that lineup for the last week. I mean, he's struggling. He can't make contact right at the moment. Like he started out so hot, and I believe and he's obviously a big talent, but he needs a couple days. He needs a couple days off to get right.
By the way, the second word, we're going to go ahead and jump back to the Fleet Thursday. I know it's Monday. Movie Monday replaced by Fleet Thursday. First clue was football. Second clue, undrafted. Undrafted. Football, undrafted. Get your answers into the Discord. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. RotoGrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. You're the first person to guess who we're talking about. Only one guess per clue word. Joey Gallo in there, which kind of a threat for power, but he's also nice to see when it comes to homers. Not the best Washington lineup. Thomas leading off, Rosario, Garcia, Reese, Senzel, Winker, Vargas, Gallo, and Millis. All right. Yeah, I see people, of course, guessing in the YouTube. We do encourage participation, but if you happen to get the answer correct in YouTube, it does not count. But if you guys are hanging out on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I like that Keith is playing along. It is not, that is a good guess, Keith, but that is not the correct answer. We're going to get there, though. Movie Monday, that's not for Keith, but Fleet Thursday, Keith likes Fleet Thursday. Okay. What else should we say here as far as pitchers? Anything else that kind of jumps out? Anybody you're running 20 lineups today, Keith? That's typically what you do? Is that what we're doing today?
40 lineups, yep.
Anybody we're crossing out that's like a 10% ownership guy?
So I am really interested to see where ownership lands on Justin Verlander, Kevin Gausman, Matt Waldron, and Tyler McGill. Like, Are people really clicking Matt Waldron over Justin Verlander and Kevin Gausman? Like, the name recognition there is just crazy. Like, I know, like, personally, I'm not playing hardly any Verlander or Gausman, and that's because Matt Waldron's been a better pitcher this season. I don't know if that holds, but he has a higher strikeout rate than both of them. He's cheaper, and he has one of the best matchups on the board. The Angels you mentioned are awesome against lefties, but they're terrible against righties. They strike out at 24%, and their WRC plus against righties is 90. I think Waldron has a chance to outscore Verlander and Gausman straight up. That's what the ownership is like. The ownership is saying that people are playing Waldron over Verlander and Gausman. I'm not sure if that's the case. I hope that it's not.
So that's what are you looking at? Are you looking at RG ownership or BAT ownership? RG, right? RG has them.
Is the BAT RG different?
Yeah, RG has them the highest. Like, and around the industry, they have them a lot lower too. So RG is definitely coming in hot on Waldron from an ownership perspective. So I think your inclination is correct with that. Verlander and all these bigger names are going to get clicked before him, I think. So I think we can play him.
So here we go. I got the BAT has him currently at 15%. That's Waldron, and Gausman at 22, right? So Gausman ahead by 7 percentage points. If we jump to the RG projections, as far as ownership, we have Waldron at 28, so more than double, and Gausman at 18. And I thought it was an interesting thing you said, Keith. Are people going to click on? And I would say this: those that are hand building, clicking, they're more likely to hand build and click Gausman for $600 more. I've heard of that guy. I think he might have won a Cy Young at some point. Who's Matt Waldron? Sounds like a creative player. Justin Verlander, that guy was good once too, right? But those that are like MMEing, using just projections and they're more like robots, I think they're more likely to play Waldron, if that makes sense. So that's how I would answer your question. But I think it's probably somewhere in the middle of those two, Keith, when it comes to the projections. But yeah, it is. I was surprised to see Waldron well ahead at 28%, just because you're getting a discount on Gausman. Again, he hasn't been amazing this year, and Baltimore's tough. But that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to it. And ideally, I'm going to get one of those two big boys. I'm going to have one of those two in every single lineup, either Wheeler or Skubal. I'm not sure who I have ahead of the other one. It's just whichever one I click on. I don't have a clear preference. I wish I can get better advice on that. Anybody else here we should mention? Anybody else here we should focus on? But it sounds like you're going to be below the field, right, Keith, on Gausman and Verlander, and possibly even Xing them out altogether.
Yeah, those are the two I'm going to be significantly under the field on. Gausman, I think Gausman's the one that is showing a little bit too little ownership right now. He's grading out like he's a better point per dollar in both RG projections and the BAT projections than Waldron. So I don't know. Well, I'm really curious to see. But yeah, I will be underweight on Gausman. Baltimore's one of the best offenses in baseball. Verlander just doesn't strike anyone out any longer. Lewis has been a little bit better here recently. So those are the two that I'll be fading today for sure. I'll definitely go overweight on Waldron and McGill before I play Gausman and Verlander.
Anything else here, Kirkwood, as far as pitchers that we should be stressing? Just kind of looking at the splits for Gausman this year. 21% Ks versus lefties, 25-26 versus righties. Baltimore collectively today, really, really contact heavy. 18.7% Ks. That is not a lot. And a fair bit of lefties in there. You got Henderson, Rushman, the switch hitter, O'Hearn, Santander, Kauser. Maybe I'm falling back a little bit on Gausman. Maybe the price is correct at 8K. Kind of where Keith is at as well. I don't really love it. Just kind of digging in. And again, Gausman this year has not been his normal self. Jump in here.
Right. He's not that 30% strikeout guy anymore. He's down at 24%. That's exactly where Matt Waldron is. And Waldron's matchup is way better. Give me
it's
Waldron
concerning it's concerning he had 3 Ks against Chicago White Sox.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many like swinging strikes he had and all that kind of stuff. And maybe he's just unlucky. Like a lot of like, 2-strike pop-ups.
26% called strike whiff, which is not anything to write home about. I mean, this is not. He's not looking like the same. None of his pitches are looking the same as they were last season. So or before that. So I'm worried about him in general. I mean, obviously he's got the talent. He's got a track record that he's proven. Maybe he just tonight's the night he turns it all up. And has a really solid game, but I don't think you have to go out of your way to play a chalky. There's a lot of reasons to fade or come in under for a chalky Gausman tonight.
All right. Final word, Kirkwood, as far as pitchers?
Yeah, me and Keith.
I've got one more name to throw out there just before
go ahead, Keith. I'm sorry.
Before we go, are we sure that Spencer Howard isn't good? Like he's striking out 30% of guys in AAA. Arizona has the same issue where they're really good against lefties, and they've been putrid against righties this season. I don't generally pick on Arizona because they don't strike out all that much. But if I need that 1,200 from McGill, like I don't think Spencer Howard is absolutely bonkers crazy.
46 pitches in his very first start of the season in the pros, and he was good. He was good in 46 pitches, and they still hooked him at 46. That is my first red flag.
He followed an opener in that last outing. So
what does that
if
mean?
he actually starts this game, I think he has a much higher ceiling. Did they announce the opener?
Yeah, Eric Miller starting.
That's right. Yep, you're right. Sorry.
No worries. No. We're projecting 66 pitches, by the way, which is kind of like the normal. You ramp up 15 more, and I feel like I would imagine he was throwing more in the minors. I don't know that for sure. But I would imagine he was throwing somewhere around 60 or so.
I'm going to look it up real quick because I know that he was. I'm pretty sure he was throwing like 80, 90 in the minors. So I'm not exactly sure why he only got 46 in his first outing. Because
maybe they
he
want
is
to
a
stop
fully
while they're
stretched out
ahead.
starter.
This guy has always been like this quad A pitcher where he destroys AAA and gets his face punched into the majors. Like he was a one-time prospect for Philly, mega prospect, 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, 2-3-4 years ago. I'm guessing he's not a prospect anymore. He's probably like 27, 28, and maybe he's figuring it out. He's just kind of a late bloomer. But maybe they just you're at the roulette wheel. You hit a number, like you step aside, you take your chips and go somewhere else because eventually it's going to catch up with you. Maybe they thought the same thing with Howard. Like, if he goes one more inning, maybe he's feeling good vibes. He's probably in line for the win, right? Because there was an opener, so he was probably done with the fifth. I'm just sort of like digging into it, thinking of it that way, but I don't know the situation. But
his minor league pitch counts are not as good as I expected them to be. He lived in that 65 range quite a bit. 3-4 65s in a row, 65, 66, and then he went 74, 85, 74 before his call up. So I think he probably does have a ceiling of like 65 to 70 pitches, unfortunately.
It just doesn't seem necessary in the slate because we have a lot of good pitchers. And I don't think we're pinching pennies that much. Broccoli Boy in chat is asking, what number do you play on the roulette wheel? I guarantee you Kirkwood has a number he plays every single time.
I don't play roulette. I don't play roulette.
Oh, what?
I play Baccarat. I play Baccarat, my man.
Oh, okay. Well, there's no number. You just play the banker or not banker, right? There's nothing you can do there.
But there's strategies.
Yeah,
there's no strategy in everything. Actually.
Well, there's bad strategies and there's worse strategies in roulette, basically.
No, I mean, there's strategies where you can give yourself like an 80% chance to like hit for a certain amount of money, but obviously it's bad. It's your negative EV on it. But like if you want, like, there's definitely a lot of different ways you can play it, but I don't play it.
I like the chat is throwing out their numbers 13, 6, 17. There was a while there when Lost was like a huge
13's a chalk, right?
23. I think 23 is a chalk. People love playing
Michael
23.
Jordan, MJ 23. You got it. And
yeah,
33 out over here, 33.
30.
Larry Bird.
They wait. The wheel is weighed out at 33. It never lands on 33 in Boston. They make sure of that. There was a time, like, remember when Lost was like a big deal, where people would play the Lost lottery numbers, and that's like the dumbest strategy for. First of all, you shouldn't be playing the lotto, but whatever. Playing the lotto, so be it. $1 in a dream. But if you actually win, you're splitting it with 1,000 other schmucks who play the same stupid numbers from Lost. It's like, what are you doing? It's not going to hit for one, and if it does, now all of a sudden you're splitting with 1,000 other idiots that like don't realize that everybody else is doing the same stupid strategy. Anyways, all right, we're moving on. Oh, clue number 3. Let's do clue number 3. Let's give away a week free of RG Premium. Clue number 1 is football. Clue number 2 is undrafted. Clue number 3. This might open up the doors for some people. Analyst. There you go. Clue number 1, football.
Someone already got it.
Oh, well, so much for that. Well, now we're just playing it out for funsies. Shout out. I've not had a second to look at the Discord channel, but thank you for. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll still play it out. Do you guys know who it is? Or you have a guess? Football analyst, undrafted? Let us know in chat. And we'll shout out the winner from Discord momentarily. All right. We're done with pitching. We got about 25, 30 minutes until crunch time comes in. I believe it's Taylor Smith, as well as I think Roth is coming on. I'm fairly certain it's going to be Roth and Dave Potts. Dave Potts back from the wedding. Weather-wise, I just want to go ahead and confirm nothing really dicey out there. I'll drop this in chat for the people. It's not Kurt Warner the chalk, but he does fit the criteria, but it's not Kurt Warner as far as being a football player, undrafted. Okay, yeah, there's the link for weather. Yellow in Philadelphia, yellow-green Washington, yellow-green Colorado, but nothing especially dicey.
Can we go off the rails for a second and see if anyone any chat people watch UFC? We were talking about a pre-show, but man, what a crazy night of horrible scorecards. Like the absolute worst possible score judging you could ever see. Just made 0 sense.
Isn't that every week though, UFC?
The ref who didn't know what to do with an eye poke, and he just told him to keep fighting. And he looked like he was Vinny from the block who got put in Newark. Vinny from Newark, the block, and all of a sudden he's in there fixing fights. It looks like this was a big opportunity. Like there's got to be somebody's betting like split decisions, and this guy, like whoever that Torelli guy is, but it was just mind blowing. It's like, how do I bet on this shit? And this stuff, and I keep coming back every single week.
It'd be amazing if Angel Hernandez became a UFC ref. Like the Twitter would just implode. I don't know how qualified he is or isn't, but it doesn't sound like anybody's qualified to be a UFC ref. Let's make Angel Hernandez a UFC ref. I'm behind that. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe he's going to swerve us in like next week or whenever the next event's going down. But there you go. But that's all I hear. I don't really watch the events. I'm aware it happens, but people are always complaining about the refs in UFC.
Oh, this was like another level, though.
Judging.
There were I don't know if you're familiar with how UFC is scored, but like you get 10 points per round, basically, if you win the round. There were cards where 2 judges had it 30-27 for one fighter, and then the other judge had it
30-27 fighter from Fall River, Massachusetts over here, who I knew he was going to be terrible anyway, because all these guys stink from Massachusetts. They have the low ceiling. He absolutely did nothing. Like he ran away the whole entire fight. He got anytime there was any action, he got leg kicked or like anything. Like he's the one he had like no significant strikes, and the guy gave him the decision. And it was a split decision. It was the craziest thing ever.
Clue number 4, just playing this out for funsies, is Team America. Team America. Football undrafted analyst Team America. That is our fourth clue. It's already been guessed in the Discord. We already have a winner for RG Premium, but I figure we play out the string. And I saw somebody get the correct answer in chat as well. Going to talk about some stacks in just a second. Our favorite stacks on this slate. 16 teams going at it. Before we do so, chat, let me know. And you guys let me know as well. And you're hearing this for the first time. You kind of alluded to this, Kirkwood. We're talking about movie sequels. We're power ranking movie sequels. I didn't go with like the 7th Fast and the Furious or like the Dark Knight is, I guess, technically the sequel for Christopher Nolan's 3 movies. I didn't use that. I just went straight like the second movie that came out in a series of movies, or maybe it was the second and it was the end because it was such a disaster. Yes, Team America, World Police. This is not a South Park reference, but nicely done. It is not Dante Culpepper. Culpepper was drafted in the first round by the Vikings. And he's not an analyst, I don't think. Pretty sure he's not an analyst.
Ian, don't shame Brandon. Just say his guess is wrong. What are you doing? He's a VIP member of the show. This guy, Brandon, tunes in every day to watch a show, and you just rip him apart. Like, I mean, how do the people stand for this stuff?
Just think before you guess, though. I mean, it wasn't like Culpepper was a 6th rounder. It was a 1st round bet. Anyway,
the guy's doing his best.
Right,
the guy's doing his best. You don't even know. You have no idea if he's like.
Also, me and Culpepper go back. We were classmates.
What if he's like has a severe disability and that was his guess and you just wore him down like that? Like you don't know who's on the other side of this screens here. Dean.
You know what? You're right. I apologize. I take it back.
See, he's crying. He's crying.
Maybe he's laughing. He's crying, laughing. Is that what's? Now it's up to the interpretation. But yeah. Do you want to tell me, besides The Incredible, unless we can ask your child, I guess your child will probably say Incredibles 2 is the greatest sequel of all time, Kirkwood, but do you have an answer as far as the greatest sequel movie of all time?
For me, I do have an answer, but it's probably not. Back to the Future 2, for me, is my favorite sequel. Yep.
What is this, Kirkwood?
I mean that play, yeah, the Almanac, the Gray Sports Almanac. I mean,
there it is, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, Keith, do you have an answer by chance? Do you want to? I don't want to exclude you, but I don't know if you have an answer or not.
I don't have an answer. No.
Let's show the board. Yeah, Godfather 2. Godfather 2 is king, right? It just is. I do have Back to the Future 2 second, though, of course. I think you got to yield to Godfather. Godfather 2 is in the 1 spot, and Back to the Future 2 is in the 2 spot. Some people might say Terminator 2 should be higher.
Oh, yeah. Empire Strikes Back. Great one.
Yeah, I'm not a Star Wars guy, but that's fine. You can only rank 5 things. T2, Judgment Day. People love that movie. It was good. But I yield to Back to the Future. I don't know who watched Paul Blart Mall Cop and said, that was great. I need more of that. I guess enough people did. And they made a sequel, and it was horrendous. And the only thing more horrendous than Paul Blart Mall Cop Part 2 was Weekend at Bernie's 2, which I highly, highly do not recommend.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? It's terrible.
Yeah, I loved the original.
Spectacular. A lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But the second one, woof. It is horrendous.
Dumb and Dumber, but that's not.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer to throw on the bottom. Let's see. What Empire Strikes Back, Dune 2. I haven't seen it. I know people like the Dune stuff. Rush Hour 2. Porky's 2. I don't know if that was. It's just no.
Airplane 2. Was that is there an Airplane 2?
Yeah, there was an Airplane 2 where you go to space. It's not as good as the original. The original obviously far exceeds it. Caddyshack 2 was historically terrible. They got rid of Ronnie Dangerfield. I believe it was Jackie Mason, and it was pretty terrible. But Aliens supposedly is good. I have not seen Aliens. I just saw Alien for the first time a few months ago.
Oceans,
the Rocky movies.
Oceans 13 or something.
Oceans is pretty good. Yeah, the sequels are pretty good.
Fletch lives. Fletch. Dude, the movie Fletch is amazing. The original, love it. Love that movie.
I haven't seen it in a long time. Yeah. Chevy Chase. Anchorman 2 was bad as well. I could have considered Anchorman 2 for the Paul Blart spot. But there's a lot of bad sequels, and the ratio is not great. In any event, we're going to be throwing these teams in these respective categories. We have most of the lineups. Dark Knight, I just didn't want to get involved because it's kind of in the middle. And I was trying to just do like the second in a series, or maybe it ended at 2. But yeah, surely Dark Knight, obviously spectacular movie.
I'm disappearing for 1 second. I have to update the mom about our kid jumping through.
No worries, you're good.
Out of the playpen.
Keith, you got Milwaukee and Philadelphia. I know we talked earlier in the show. We liked Philadelphia a good bit. Somewhat of a downgrade here with the opener now for Milwaukee, a lefty opener, going to take on Schwarber and Harper. Brewers, a 3-ish team total here against Zach Wheeler. If you want some leverage, I suppose you can do that. But Keith, where are we putting the Brewers and the Phillies?
Brewers are going to go down in Weekend at Bernie's. I have no interest in trying to pick on Zach Wheeler, one of the best pitchers in baseball. The Phillies were my favorite stack on the slate coming into the morning when I was doing my research. But Milwaukee did a sharp thing, and they're opening with the lefty now. That means that the elite guys like Harper and Schwarber will be taking their first at bat against a lefty. They're still great against lefties. It is a downgrade for them. They also shuffled their lineup up a little bit from what we had projected. Cody Clemens was one of my favorite value bats on the slate. He's not in that lineup now, so I'm going to go down to Back to the Future for Philly. I still like them, and this only helps lower their ownership. I was worried they were going to get a little bit of steam throughout the day just because of how well their lefties set up against Bryce Wilson, but sharp move by Milwaukee. They're going to the lefty opener, but still one of the top offenses on the slate for me, just not the top like they were.
I either didn't know or I blocked it out that there was a sequel to Joe Dirt called Beautiful Loser. I was not maybe I forgot that happened. The chat reminded me, but probably is not very good. I'm guessing it's not very good. It's got a 10% in Rotten Tomatoes, so that's not it's right there with Ellie De La Cruz's what is it? He's got a
What
9.
about
Go ahead.
the Fast and Furious 2? We never.
Yeah, I don't. That's not my wheelhouse. Chop was talking about it the other day. He ranked the Fast.
Chop loves it. Chop Gomes is big on him too. Chop's a big Magic Mike fan, and Chop loved the Magic Mike sequel, so he would have that up there.
I've seen the original. The original was pretty good. It was pretty fun. Kirk, any issues here as far as Philadelphia and Milwaukee, or shall we move on?
Philadelphia is moving into my gutless category after last night. I had them to first 5 and to win last night, and I lost the bet. So I've increased they're on the outside looking in as a moving up the gutless rankings. Because again, remember the biggest criteria for that is how it affects my wallet. So, but
are we getting an update, by the way, on those rankings? How often do those come out? Because I feel like it's been a while since we've got.
I gave up a show. And all of a sudden I wasn't on any shows anymore, like for a little while. So I don't know what happened with scheduling or whatnot, but okay. Yeah, so it's been a lot. So I got to update them, but we'll do it for next show I'm on. We'll have an updated rankings.
Izzy with the worst take. Godfather's a snooze fest. Like, come on, seriously.
But Philly, the Phillies, you have to. I mean, in nice weather, home against Bryce Wilson, I think the Phillies are a great spot. So I would have them up. I think they're just a little bit behind Coors, each side of Coors. So I would be fine putting them under Godfather or Back to the Future too. So we can just leave it as is. And Milwaukee, against Wheeler, it's like, yeah, it's all the leverage in the world, and it's going to be completely unowned. And if it hits, it's still hard to pick the Milwaukee bats and the pinch hitting and whatnot. So I think we have to put them down there at the bottom.
They're saying Space Jam 2. That was not a sequel. That was like a reboot. That wouldn't count. I haven't seen it. I don't think I did. If I did, I just forgot it even happened. LeBron James doing the Space Jam movie. That was not a sequel. That was just them doing it again. All right. Mets, Nats. This is your board, Kirkwood. McGill, Slippin, Tyler McGill versus Mackenzie Gore. 8 total. What do you got?
Yeah, so this is like it could go either. I'm going to put them. No, I'd put them down in Mall Cop 2, each side. I'm going to side with the pitchers, but it wouldn't shock me if both of them, end up getting beat up in this game, and there's a lot of runs scored. But I side with the pitching first. But these guys aren't invincible.
What do you got, Keith? Do you agree?
Obviously, Gore Gore's been really solid all year.
Yeah, I agree
Paul
with.
Blart?
Yeah, I'm good with Paul Blart there. If Abrams was in that Washington lineup, I would have had a little bit more interest in them. McGill's been really good. He's one of my highest exposure pitchers. But like he has had problems with lefties in the past, and Washington is fairly left-handed. So I think that there's a chance that can get to McGill here. But without CJ Abrams in there, who's their best hitter, I don't have as much interest.
Another game with a low total. This is just kind of nature of the slate stuff, Keith. But yeah, we have Grayson Rodriguez, good pitcher, versus Kevin Gausman. He was once a really good pitcher. We're not sure exactly what he is right now, but a 7.5 total, basically a coin toss here. Both team totals of 3.75. Keith, where do you have the O's and the Blue Jays?
Blue Jays are going to be in Paul Blart for me. I just believe in the talent of Grayson Rodriguez. I think he's on his way to being an outstanding pitcher. Baltimore is one of the better offenses in baseball. Gausman has been down this season. I still don't know that they get up to Back to the Future for me, so I'm gonna leave them there in Terminator.
Big revenge spot
for Gausman. How many years ago was he
yeah.
on Baltimore?
7.
How long ago was that?
He came up with them and pitched 2 years there, and then
back in the Wakefield days.
Not that far back. I think you're.
Yeah,
going
he was
100%. What?
Wakefield
really?
played. Wakefield, yes. Wakefield played for a while. It wasn't that long ago he was playing, and then
2011 he played till Wakefield. Looks like. You're saying Gausman was on Baltimore in 2011? He might have been in the organization.
He was drafted by Baltimore in 2011, maybe. I don't think he was in the majors yet.
I don't think so either.
I think it's very close. If it's not, it's very, very close.
He was drafted in 2012.
Wakefield stopped pitching in 2011. Maybe I'm losing.
He was like 45 years old. Yeah.
He pitched up to like 50. He pitched up.
No, he wasn't. He was 46 or 45 when he retired. Yeah. He didn't pitch till he was 50. There would be a movie made about him. All right. Let's oh, by the way, the fifth clue. Let's give the people the fifth clue since they're guessing for funsies. I know Keith is guessing and with good guesses, Keith, but just misfiring. Football.
Oh, I know who it is now.
Analyst,
I didn't officially put the guess, but
oh, you know, okay, you know who it is now? Okay. Jessica is the last clue, by the way. The last clue is Jessica. Okay. And people in chat, wait, are they saying, did he really pick? Okay, they're laughing at the idea he pitched at 50. He could have pitched 50 because he's throwing knuckleballs and he didn't really.
He was close to 50.
Yeah, 46 or 45, I think.
Why? I know. I was. There must be someone. I must be thinking of R.A. Dickey then.
Detroit and Texas. This is your board, Kirkwood. Another paltry total. 7. 7 is the total. Coin toss. As far as Vegas. They're basically, minus 108, respectively. Eovaldi versus Skubal. Are we excited about these offenses? I feel like it's hard to get excited, but you tell me. Where are we putting them, Kirkwood?
No, nobody has touched Skubal all season, really, so I'm not excited about that, about playing the Rangers. I think Detroit, you got some hot batters. You got Riley Green, who's been on fire. Eovaldi may have a low – What is the bat projecting for his pitch count? Have we heard anything on his pitch count?
It's probably not that great. Let's see. I'll tell you what I have. I got 67 according to RG projections, and I'm guessing the bat is something similar. Let's see. Let me just go ahead and refresh on that, but not enough where I'm rostering him. I'll say that. But you're thinking about as far as picking on Texas?
Yeah, obviously he's coming back from injury, so there's he's working his way back up, so he may, and he's getting older too, so he may have a tough start potentially. And their bullpen has been like pretty suspect. They're 6th on the slate in Sierra, so I think Detroit's good in the middle there. Terminator, they're a solid
67
Terminator,
and 65
Terminator
by the way.
too.
So 67, 65 RG projections, the bat basically in line. If you're curious there. But Keith says Jessica did nothing for me. He famously dated a Jessica when he was playing football. How about maybe this helps? Skechers? Does Skechers help?
Yeah, as soon as you said it wasn't Warner, I knew who it was. I didn't put the official guess into the chat.
All right. Oh, and Izzy's saying, why no wrench? Keith, why are you not wrench worthy? What's up with that?
So my wrench is on my personal Gmail account, and I'm signed in with my Better Collective account right now. So I have a wrench,
I've
just
done that
not on this
before
account.
Too. Yeah. I never liked signing with the wrong
Wow,
account, but
that's
it's
massive. No wrench.
His backup account's not wrench worthy. It's fine. He can't get two wrenches. He can't multi-enter. Keith, your issue
he should be a multi-wrench guy.
Detroit, Texas. Keith, are we good with Terminator 2 right in the middle?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Texas is, I don't know, it's tough. Like Kirkwood said, Screwball just hasn't been touched this season. So I might move Texas down one, but I'm good with them there in Terminator also.
All right. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things to help us keep the lights on. Do sign up for RG Premium. If you sign up now and commit to 6 months, you get $250 off the regular price as opposed to going month by month by month by month. You get yourself a 6-month combo sub. The link is in the description for that. If you just want to commit for 1 month, you can get $40 off. You want to commit to 3 days, it's $19.99. Keith, you are up next. And the next team would be St. Louis and Houston, Gibson and Verlander. A whopping 8 total here. Get excited, Keith.
Yeah, so I wish Houston was a little bit more left-handed because Gibson has been much worse against lefties throughout his career and especially this season. So I really like Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. I think Jonathan Singleton is a perfectly fine punt option at first, but the full stack is not as intriguing for me. I'm debating between Back to the Future and Terminator. I think just because the full stack isn't as strong, I'm going to land in Terminator with Houston. And St. Louis, I don't want to play Verlander because I don't think he has strikeout upside, but he's still a well above average pitcher. And St. Louis has not been great on offense. I'm going to go Paul Blart for St. Louis.
All right. Paul Blart, St. Louis, Houston, Terminator 2. We go with this, Kirkwood, or you want to move anything?
Yeah, so I don't buy the Kyle Gibson reverse splits this season. This guy has always gotten shelled in general. So, and if you want to, I got Chop DM'd me. He's like, they're gonna miss this play, aren't they? And I was like, what play? And he's like, this is the BVP suggestion of the day.
Oh,
and it's
the algorithm splits up now.
It's Altuve, yeah. So he gave me access to Altuve. He told me to tell the people 4 home runs. So 1 out of every 10 at bats, he's homering off Gibson. 42 at bats, sample. So Chop loved this, so I have to relay it to the people. So I like Houston in general. I'm going to move Houston up. I don't think.
I'm with it. You talked me into it. Let's go Back to the Future on.
Yeah, and Gibson's never had a big split, and I always talk about the old Crawford boxes down the left field line does favor the righty power. So imagine if those Crawford boxes were on the right field line, and they somehow flipped the outfield and make Tucker and Alvarez even that much more distinctly better. We got 3 games and 6 minutes or so, give or take, till crunch time comes in. So we got to pick up the pace a little bit here, boys. Cincinnati at the Rockies, 10.5, big boy total. Again, another coin toss, right? Vegas is not really sure who's going to win this game. -116 favorite here for the Reds. Kirkwood, this is your board. Where are we putting the Reds and the Rockies?
Rockies number 1 team for me, Reds number 2, so they both got to go up top.
All right. Rockies are your second favorite team on the board, huh?
My first favorite team on the board.
Wait, Reds are your second favorite.
Yep.
Tell me why your Rockies are your favorite.
I'm just double stacking this game too. Both pitchers are extremely hittable. It's in Coors, and you can make it work with the pitching that I like. I can do whatever I want if I put the double seven. If we go McGill and Waldron, but I can also get a top tier and a top tier pitcher with that and play around with the, maybe have to use one of the 2K guy, the 3K guy from I got to refresh. Do we have him?
What are you looking for?
The guy from Detroit, Justin Henry Malloy. Big fan of his. I've been waiting for him to come up. Big fan of this guy. So 2K, I'm all over this. So you throw him in there, you can
He's gonna get played.
Stack this game. Yeah. So given both of these pitchers are extremely hittable, and it's in Coors. It's like obviously the ownership is the only problem, but I'm going to play single entry, high entry stuff, and I think my pitching is going to be a little different, and so that's the way I'm going to play it.
Also, extreme pitchers umpire if you care about such things in Coors. Your thoughts, Keith, as far as Colorado and Cincy?
Both top tier for me as well. I would have Cincy slightly ahead of Colorado, but I think the field will play it that way also. I think Abbott's a better pitcher than what he's shown this season, but his strikeouts have really just disappeared. So I'm with Kirkwood. I'm very interested in Colorado, even though they're a terrible offense. There's some value pieces there as well, like Hunter Goodman and Sean Bouchard at the bottom of the order. Very interested in those guys to help make things work. On the Cincy side, Ellie De La Cruz, I don't care how cold he's been. He's legitimately live for like multiple triples. He could get an inside the park home run in Coors, and it would not surprise me even a little bit. Like his speed in the outfield is just insane. Like he legitimately has just insane upside here.
He's turning into like a extremely tall, strong Billy Hamilton. Like you just pray for this guy to get on base and you get your 2 bags, but
a little more power than Billy, I think. But
I know. I mean, but he can't touch the base. He can't make contact all of a sudden. Yeah. It's crazy watching him sometimes.
Yeah.
So since that 4 stolen base game, since May 17th, 127 batting average, 377 OPS. That is the lowest among qualifier hitters. The lowest OPS amongst anybody that qualifies. A 36 ISO, a 9 WRC plus, and a 38.7% K rate. Now, does that mean anything tonight? Not really. But I'm just saying, those of you that say, oh, he's cold, you're not allowed to play him. You're not allowed to play him, or you're a hypocrite. That's it. That's how that goes. You can't be both guys. You can't be I love Coors and hot cold guy. You can't be both guys. San Diego and the Angels, 8.5. Waldron and Anderson. Keith, this is your board. We got to pick up the pace.
I'm going San Diego in the top tier. I know the gutless rankings are going to have an issue with this, but they are a top 10 offense this season, and Tyler Anderson has been fraudulent. He's below average in strikeouts. He's above average in walks, and like xERA and Sierra both think he's like 2 runs worse than his ERA this year.
Yes. We talked about this pre-show, and I think San Diego is my favorite. I don't know if off the board is the right way to phrase it, but I do like the Padres, which is an uncomfortable thing to say out loud. They might be my main stack. We'll see. If nothing else, probably like a secondary stack. What do you have here, Kirkwood, as far as San Diego and their opponent, the Angels?
They are gutless, so I'm not stacking this team. If it was a bad spot, I would consider playing them. But in a good spot, I just can't do it. Except I want to get this. I'm a big fan of the home run calls, so I want to give a big
Juggalo bomb.
Tatis is Juggalo bomb number 1 tonight against Tyler Anderson. So, but I'm telling you, and this team is too gutless in this spot. So I've seen it too many times. You fool me once, fool me twice. No more.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, not going to fool me again. That's San Diego and the Angels. Last game, San Fran, Arizona.
Who had them in the top? They're in the top. I cannot.
Oh, we got to break the tie, and I break the tie, and I side with Keith, unfortunately. So San Diego.
This is the best fade in the history of fades.
Look, I let you guys. I'm the arbiter. I just delegate it, but and Steve puts it where they're supposed to go. But if the tie needs to be broken, that's when I jump in, and I'm actually, unfortunately, on the side of the Padres tonight. I did have that qualifier, but that's where we're at. Giants, D-backs, no official lineups for the Angels, Padres, Giants just yet for what it's worth. So keep an eye on that. But last game here, the hammer, if you will, kind of a chisel. Giants, D-backs, Nelson versus Spencer Howard, Miller doing the opening here. Kirkwood, what do you got?
I'd put Arizona in Back to the Future 2. I wouldn't complain if we went Terminator 2 with them. I just want to get on record and say that Angels are too high on there for me too as well. I can't see them hitting this dancing knuckler. But
I agree with you, by the way. We should move them down. Okay. There you go. See, I'm fair.
All right. Again, people, San Diego, greatest fade I've ever seen. But okay, Arizona's there. San Fran, I mean, maybe. I hate this ballpark.
Never.
I hate this center field. This center field in Arizona is just the most tilting thing ever. When they
490 feet.
Yeah,
100 feet tall.
It's ridiculous. San Francisco's I'd put them, there. I mean, it's just you don't have to worry about as pitch hitting as much because they're out of bodies. But I guess that's fine right there in the middle because I think it could be a good stack. Solaire's going to start heating up sooner or later too.
He's 2.7 on FanDuel. I think that's a really good price on FanDuel. Just want to point that out. Any issues with that, Keith? We do have crunch time knocking on the door. If you have any issues, make it succinct.
No issues for me. Arizona got the downgrade when San Francisco went to the opener. So I got them both in Terminator also.
All right. We got Roth. We have Dave Potts. We got Taylor Smith. It is crunch time. Let's bring him in. All right. Kevin Roth, 8 games today, 4 in a dome. So not a lot of weather lurking out there today. Dave, we're back from the wedding. How did everything go swiftly? Everything go well, I hope?
It was truly fantastic. It really was. And I don't always think weddings are fantastic, even ones that I'm involved in, but it was great. It was truly wonderful.
Congratulations. And you said you have a lot of leftover. What was the food that's left over? People can come over and knock on that?
Yeah, chicken Alfredo, a lot. Some potato casserole thing. I don't understand what it is because I'm not going to eat that. And then pork tenderloin, which was pretty great. That's going to be around for a while.
I figured that would have been the chalk. That would have been one of the first things to go, but I guess not.
Well, a lot of it went. There was just a lot of it.
Gotcha. Fair enough. All right, Roth, how's things in your world? Everything all good?
It's good. I have to admit something. I have watched Godfather 2 maybe 4 times, and I can't watch more than 30 minutes. It puts me to sleep. I can't watch it. I know. It's supposed to be one of the greats, one of the greatest movies of all time. Every time I try to watch that movie, I give up like 30 or 40 minutes in.
But we've seen Godfather, at Bernie's right? Too. You sail right through Weekend at Bernie's part 2.
It's amazing. Is that the one where he does the voodoo dance?
Yeah, it is.
It's so bad. He's like hypnotized by music, and he goes under the wall. I don't want to spoiler alert on
no
spoilers.
Give people time.
Yeah.
Just do not see it. Do not unless you guys have a worst sequel of all time. There's a lot of choices, a lot of options. The chat was playing along, but that for me, I made today's board. I think that's the worst sequel I can think of. Weekend at Bernie's 2. That's where the bar is set at.
I mean, how did Paul
that they made it?
How did Paul Bart get up there?
It's terrible. What do you mean? How did it get up?
I don't know. Like I've never even watched it, and I think it was shot here in Boston. Like, is this something I need to watch?
No.
Oh yeah.
You can watch the original if you want to watch the original, but nobody watched the original Paul Blart and said, "Man, I need 2 more hours of this." Nobody said that.
Wasn't there a Zoolander 2? Wasn't that a thing that happened?
It was. It wasn't great.
My vote was for Dumb and Dumber. Remember that? It wasn't even the same. It was.
Oh, Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, I never even saw that.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
Anchorman 2 wasn't great. There's a lot of bad, and they all came out like 10 years too late too. It's like Zoolander came out like 8 years after it should have come out. There's a Dodgeball 2 coming. Maybe like in 2005, I would have watched it, and I'm sure I'll watch the new one. But why is it coming out now?
Happy Gilmore 2, right? Also coming.
That's another one.
Yeah, that one I will see. That's a classic.
Well, why now?
My vote is Back to the Future 2 up top, but
I'm not going to disagree. Me and Gray Sports Almanac are not going to disagree. Of course, I got to stay on brand with that. But
I bought one of those hoverboards that doesn't. I bought it from China, like when they first came out, like that didn't actually hover, and it was.
Well, you got to read the.
I like called all my friends. I was like, dude, I'm ordering it from China. We need to whip around the neighborhood, East Boston, on these things.
What does it do?
No one shared it out. It blows up houses. They catch on fire. And it causes house fires. That's what it does.
There's a famous clip of Mike Tyson on one of those. If you go,
I have a famous clip. I was working at the time, and we were on an office party on a boat, and I was Michael. It was Halloween party, and I was Michael J. Fox. I was Marty McFly, and and I had the hoverboard and the vest and this girl from my office was like, I was like. She like grabbed it and she's like, I'm doing this. And I'm like, it's crazy. Like and she just like got on it and she went pew, pew, boom and landed and hit so hard on her back. I felt so bad.
The lawsuit is still pending. This is not a famous clip though. None of us saw that. We've seen the Mike Tyson.
There's a clip out. I could probably dig one up.
a group of friends, it's famous, but we never saw it.
Yeah,
All right,
maybe it could get a lot of likes if I posted it.
Maybe
People
producer
go
Steve
viral.
can find the Mike Tyson clip, and I think that like the next day they discontinued him. It's like if Mike Tyson can't figure it out, that's it. We're out. We gotta recall these bad boys. We should step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. Crunch time. You got Kevin Roth, you got Dave Potts, you got Taylor, myself, Keith, and Kirkwood. Do appreciate you watching the first portion. Let's step aside and get out of here. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it. Ladies and gents, you know the drill. It is indeed crunch time. I'm learning from the chat. It is a scary pitching slate with some emoji that I have never seen before. There are two men who can confirm or deny that. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz, in fact. We got Taylor in the house. What up, Taylor?
Not much. I don't know if it's a scary pitching slate. I guess like a lot of the good pitchers are in tougher spots.
I would say it's scary good. I think it's one of the best pitching slates I've seen in a while. So I'm not sure what he means by that.
Oh, okay. Okay, intrigued.
So-
Fresh haircut, Taylor?
Indeed.
Yeah,
I did get a
looks
haircut
sharp,
after about a year.
Looks sharp. Yeah, good stuff. Cheese, Dave Potts as well. Fresh haircut, Cheese?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, legitimately, yes. I had to
Yes.
get my haircut before the wedding. So
The forecast worked out. I was thrilled to see that.
you nailed that. And a lot more people know about you now because people were walking around at about 12:30 when it was raining. I was like, don't worry. I know this guy, Kevin Roth. They were like, Kevin Roth. I know that name. I was like, yeah, you do. He said we're going to be fine. And we were.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love forecasting weddings. If you're out there right now and you're watching this and you are getting married, or maybe even 5 years from now, you get married, just reach back out. I will give you wedding forecasts. I love doing it, especially for friends. So, geez, that was fun. I'm really, really glad that worked out. But hey, we got to dive into this slate here. Weather is not much of a concern. I think there's at least a chance of a delay in Philly and then less so in DC, but still a chance. I think you play everything that you were going to do regardless in both of those games. Could you get a delay, especially in Philly? Yeah. The odds are maybe 15%. Like I think you just bite the bullet and you do it. That's it. So that's where I'm at. And whether unreleased lo-fi music says, hey, that's dope, Roth, I'm going to need that in September. Yeah, that's great. Please, reach out to me on Twitter. I forecast for people's weddings all the time. I enjoy doing it for their special day. So please do reach out. That's it. That's all I've got. So with that, let's talk about this scary pitcher slate, Cheese, or scary good pitcher slate.
Yeah, it's a very good pitching slate. I'm not sure what that comment even meant.
Okay.
But it is a tricky pitching slate because of what to do with the salary. Like salary cap is a big issue tonight because all the offenses you want are spend up as well. Essentially, Zach Wheeler and Tariq Skubal are up top, kind of on their own salary wise, and they're great. Like they're the two best pitchers, but not by like a ton, not by as much as the salary shows. I do have a fair amount of Wheeler and a little bit of Skubal. But for the most part, I'm going cheaper because it's good. I also think because of the way things are, I don't think ownership's going to be an issue really on any expensive pitchers or even mid-tier. If ownership's an issue anywhere, it's probably Matt Waldron. But even that's not really, I don't think you worry about ownership. I think you play your pitchers. So
yeah.
For me, those pitchers are mostly, I have mostly Matt Waldron and Tyler McGill on DraftKings.
Literally,
McKenzie.
just as you said that, someone in the chat said, am I nuts for playing Waldron and McGill on DraftKings? Like literally that came in just as you said it.
If anything, I honestly think that's going to be the highest owned combo on the slate because what you can get with that is perfect. Like you can get any red stack you want. You can go Houston, Philly, like you can do whatever you want. So like, don't think you're being sneaky, but I think it's good. I love Mackenzie Gore in the upper mid tier. And I do think he comes in. None of this is sneaky, but I think Verlander and Gaussman get more ownership than Gore. And I prefer Gore. All three of those guys totally playable. I have a fair amount of Gaussman on DK as well. On FanDuel, I think Gaussman is more popular because he's kind of the level where you can play any offense you want, and he's only 300 more than Waldron there. And I would play Gaussman ahead of Waldron, although I have both. But it's also easier to get to Wheeler or Scooball on FanDuel. So the pool's a little smaller on FanDuel, but it's the same guys. It's just that the biggest difference being Tyler McGill is 7,200 on DK and 96 on FanDuel. So you don't really need him on FanDuel, but I like him a lot on DraftKings. I wouldn't argue with you for pretty much any way you're playing these guys. You can include Grayson Rodriguez in there if you want. I think it's viable to go even cheaper. If you want to play Ryan Nelson or Andrew Abbott or Bryce Wilson or Kyle Gibson or even Ryan Feltner, like if you want to throw one in the MME mix, have at it. But I didn't go below McGill anywhere on any lineup on DK or anywhere below Waldron anywhere on FanDuel.
Okay, very good. Taylor, I want to get your thoughts on pitching, but first, I would like Steve, if possible, to do a YouTube question that simply says, who has the dog? Who has the dog? And you can list the three of us. See, that's what the people want to know. And we will see if the people can figure out who has the dog. It's as simple as that. You have three choices. And I will allow the YouTube channel to try to figure it out. As they do that, Taylor, why don't you walk them through your thoughts pitching-wise and maybe how they compare to Cheese's?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I'm getting to more Wheeler than Scooball, but both are fantastic. I think the matchup might be a bit better for Wheeler, so I don't mind paying the extra 200, but both are great. I am getting into a ton of Gaussman. I think it's just kind of a long-term projection thing. He hasn't been as good this season, but starts to kind of look like his old self. The matchup's scary with Baltimore, but he's only 8K, and you can make a case it should be 9K plus based on his history. So I'm fine embracing the risk there and just taking the discount on him. I'm interested to see where Verlander comes in ownership-wise on DK. He's 8.8. He hasn't been like his old self. He's 4-1, of course, but he's benefited from easier matchups of late. The Cardinals aren't necessarily a tough spot, but it is still an okay lineup overall, not a ton of strikeouts. He's another guy I'm getting to just because he's cheaper than the upper tier, but makes me a little bit nervous based on how kind of more pedestrian he's looked at this stage of his career. I love the Gore call. I'm not really getting to Grayson Rodriguez just because he's more expensive than the other ones, like Gaussman and Verlander. I think Ryan Nelson is puntable on DK because he's 5'8", and the Giants are bad. They're injured. They are not a very good lineup to begin with. There are some strikeouts here. I think the lineup just came out. I haven't looked at it yet, but if you want to fully punt, I don't think Nelson is crazy on DK. I also think Andrew Abbott is okay in the large field tournament just because it's the Rockies. And he's 6'8". He's shown some strikeout stuff over the past couple of years, but he's a homer-prone fly ball guy pitching at Coors. I do firmly prefer the Rockies side of it, but Abbott for 6'8", I think is just playable because Colorado's still not a good offense overall.
Okay, very good. We want to talk some bats and some stacks. In the meantime, Jacob would like to say he is picking the fellow with the suave haircut to have the dog, which,
so,
me?
Who
yeah, I'm not sure where he's going. Could be any of us. Could be. He says I meant all three. That's right. Could be any of us that he's accusing there of the dog. Okay, let's talk about the bats and the stacks. Thomas in the YouTube chat says stack Baltimore, and Taylor, I will let you lead us off. Is that he did it with one exclamation mark? Do you agree? And should there be more exclamation marks behind stack Baltimore?
Probably one. I think one is adequate.
One is right. It's the right
Yeah.
amount. Okay.
Yeah. I certainly get it if Gaussman's going to be popular, which I imagine he will be. He hasn't been outstanding. He's been pretty ordinary overall. And it is a very good offense. It's a decent park for power, so I get it. A lot of lefties in there. In terms of less boom-bust stacks, obviously we have Coors. The Reds against Ryan Feltner, probably going to be the chalk. The Rockies against Abbott on the other side. Both look great. It's easily the highest total on the board. No qualms with getting to either of them, even at ownership on a shorter slate. The Padres against Tyler Anderson are going to be interesting too. Anderson's been pretty good, but it looks a little fluky. It's a low strikeout lineup. Good park upgrade for them going into Anaheim. They're pretty low strikeout too, so putting the ball in play against Anderson may yield some good results. I'm probably going to get to them plenty, even if they are on the gutless side. I mentioned Nelson being an okay option just because he's cheap, but I think the Giants against him are also perfectly fine. Kind of as a cheaper stack. They get a park upgrade going into Arizona. And I don't think Washington against McGill is a bad value stack either. CJ Abrams is out, but a lot of lefties they're throwing at him. Historically, he struggled against lefties. And McGill's going to be somewhat chalky on DK. So I don't think a national stack is crazy on this slate.
Okay. A quick weather update. There is one shower in the entire mid-Atlantic, and it went up right over Citizens Bank Park in Philly. So they might announce a late start because I assume they're trying to warm up right now, and maybe it's raining hard enough where they cannot. They may announce a late start in that game. If they do, don't worry about it. Play it anyways. It doesn't change anything. But I'm telling you, the rain coverage is roughly 1%, and it is right on top of the ballpark. And that could also potentially happen and cause a delay later on. But the odds of that are very, very low. And honestly, the fact that it's raining now makes it less likely that it's going to rain in the game. So just a heads up, they may announce a late start there. Okay, Cheese, give me your thoughts on what we're doing stack-wise.
I really think it's pretty spread out. I mean, sure, the Reds are the chalk, but not really that much. They're kind of expensive. It's not even clear who you would play to make the chalk. I don't spot, those four guys are chalk. I don't think you really have to worry about it. It's kind of like with pitcher. It's there's enough to that's all close enough. If you want to be safe with ownership, fade them in your single entries, but I don't think you need to try to fade that in multi-entry stuff because it's going to get spread around. My lean outside of cores is a little more towards mini stacks and individual hitters that I like, particularly with Phillies and Astros lefties. As far as full stacks, I would go Arizona next. Colorado after that, and then the Giants, and then the Cardinals. But it's really a lot of just picking out two or three bats I like from a team, and then salary a lot of time makes it end up as a stack. But I'm not saying, hey, I want to stack this team, and I don't start with 5 bats from a team. I'm starting with 2 or 3 here and there.
Okay. Any other teams you want to throw in there? Or no, you feel good?
I feel fantastic.
Okay. That's all we ask for, Cheese. Well, let's go around the horn. We'll go position by position. We start with the catcher spot. Cheese, what do you got? You love it. Cheese.
Yeah, I always do. I love it less than usual, but I love every position less than usual. It's not a great hitting slate because all the pitching's pretty good. Not quite all of it. Most of the pitching is pretty good. I would say it's reasonable to save money at catcher. Because the expensive guys are good, but not quite ideal. If I'm playing a one-off, it's going to be JT Realmuto first if I'm spending up. I think it's interesting that we've got guys like, Rutschman will go completely unowned. Danny Jansen. I don't mind. If I have salary sitting around, I would rather spend up than just play random guy in my stack. But these guys are not targets. Diaz is good, but I would prefer Realmuto or Tyler Stevenson. Gabriel Moreno and Patrick Bailey are the two I have the most of, just because I think they're decent enough, and I like both sides of that game, and they're cheaper.
Okay. Taylor, any other thoughts?
Luis Campusano is someone that looks decent to me against Anderson. Righty, some power with him. Historically, I don't mind that. Keibert Ruiz is hitting cleanup for the Nationals as a lefty against McGill. I think he looks solid, especially on DK where he's only 2,900. And then Logan O'Hoppe is someone I always seem to wind up on. Decent enough hitting catcher. Waldman's going to be somewhat popular. I don't hate that either. if you're going a little off the board with him.
Okay. How about first?
First base. Montero for the Rockies looks like a decent value against Abbott hitting cleanup for them. It's not a great, like Bryce Harper is obviously phenomenal. Play him, play Rhys Hoskins in your Brewer stack if you're brave enough for that. Not sure why I mentioned him second. I probably should not have done that. But Pete Alonso against any lefty is going to look good, even if it's Gore. Arraez, assuming he's leading off for the Padres, is going to be a solid play, even against Anderson lefty-lefty. Otherwise, I guess you're kind of hunting for power or in stacks. Candelario for the Reds in your Coors stack. Spencer Steer is really expensive, but could lower his ownership a little bit, I would think. Hunter Goodman is another Rocky that is projecting for quite a bit of ownership along with Montero. They're both cheap. I prefer Montero, but Goodman's fine. You can also play him in the outfield, I believe. And I don't mind Goldie either. Just Verlander's been a fly ball guy, reverse split over the years. Park upgrade for the Cardinals, especially the righties. So Goldie, I think he's a decent one-off if you don't want to stack the Cardinals.
Okay. Did get a question from Bootleg Head Chopper. Roth, are you going to sit in the room until 7:20? Or are you leaving early? Someone points out Lock is at 6:40. Yeah, that's the point. Lock is at 7:20, my friends. We're chilling right here until standard lock, because that's how we game the system. Geez, what are you doing here at first base?
I'm trying to play Bryce Harper. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate.
He's good.
That's part of why I'm going cheap at pitcher mostly. But I do have several cheap first basemen on DraftKings that I'm playing. Montero is one of my favorite plays in the Coors game. We do have Trenton Brooks, who's 2,500 for the Giants. John Singleton, I like quite a bit at 3,400. He's also real cheap on FanDuel. I have some of him there. I think that's all I want to say. You can obviously play all the Reds, but they're not like priorities for me.
Okay. To be clear, I'm aware Lock is at 6:40. I have kids. They scream a lot. I can just sit here and pretend Lock is at 7:20, and then I don't, that was the point of that. Second base, Cheese, your thoughts?
Yeah, FanDuel is interesting because you can play Spencer Steer at second, and he is expensive, but that's pretty likable. I prefer Ketel Marte over Brendan Rodgers or Jonathan India if you're going mid-tier at second on FanDuel. On the DraftKings side, I think Rodgers would be like the cash game play, but in tournaments, I much prefer Nolan Gorman. I think you can punt all the way to the Baltimore rookie, Connor Norby. He was in a movie with Eddie Murphy, and he's good. Norbit, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. All right, yeah.
But he's $2,000, and he's like a very good. Every Baltimore prospect is good. So I do think it's quite viable to just save money there because second base isn't super great. Like it's not a wonderful spend up for Altuve kind of night. I like Bryson Stott a good bit too, but he's pricey on DK. So I have a ton of Gorman and Norby.
Okay. Taylor, second base.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. I think Cronenworth, assuming he's in there for the Padres, lefty is okay. We didn't get Tyro Estrada in the lineup, so much for that. For the Giants, Luis Garcia, I mentioned Ruiz at catcher. Garcia, decent power hitting lefty. Second base for the Nationals, hitting third. It's not great otherwise. I guess Jonathan India because it's Coors, but he's priced up and hitting eighth, so I don't love it. Altuve against Gibson. I think someone mentioned BVP with him, so I guess that's always viable, but yeah, not a very good position, all things considered.
Okay, how about third?
Third is not any better, it looks like. Alec Bohm is 6K on DK, which is pretty lofty for him, but he looks solid enough. I don't know. Manny Machado and Donovan Solano, a couple of Padres hitting from the right side against Anderson. Can't play them both in the stack. Machado being the better play, but Solano's a lot cheaper. Candelario, I guess, will get some ownership because third base is pretty nasty and it's Coors. Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot here. Mark Vientos, I guess if you want to stack the Nats against Gore, which is not my favorite thing, but large field tournament, I don't hate that. He's cheap and hitting 6th. But yeah, it's pretty nasty over here too.
Okay, Cheese, third.
I think Taylor kind of covered it quickly when in the middle there. He said, yeah. As he's going through. That's really how I feel about it. It's just not great. Like Chapman, Machado, Candelario are totally fine plays, and that's who I'm mostly playing. Is they're not super expensive, but they're like more expensive than they need to be, and they're not great. But it's just even the cheap stuff is just not good. So really, this is more than any position that stick a random guy in your stack. I do have some Suarez and Arenado. They're a little bit cheaper than that top group. If Donovan Solano is hitting in the middle of the lineup, that's totally fine as a punt, but I don't particularly like it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. How about shortstop?
Ellie De La Cruz should be the chalk, but he's expensive enough that he shouldn't be like massive chalk. But it just makes me love Gunnar Henderson because most people are going to pay up for Cruz, De La Cruz, or they're going to play like Tovar or try to go cheaper. Gunnar Henderson's not going to be completely overlooked, but he's just amazing. And Gaussman right now is nothing particularly great against lefties. So I prefer Henderson over De La Cruz with ownership considered. I do like Bryson Stott as well, but again, he's kind of pricey on DK. It's interesting that Brett Wisely is leading off. I don't want to say it makes me like Brett Wisely because I don't, but it's interesting enough that he's leading off that maybe I'll move some of my random like Mason Wynn to him. I think Sosa for the Phillies is fine as well. And that's it.
Taylor, shortstop.
Yeah, continuing the Padre theme, Ha-Seong Kim, assuming he's in there, probably hitting 9th, but righty against Anderson looks good. Francisco Lindor, another Met against Gore, looks solid enough. Shouldn't be popular at all, I wouldn't think. I do like the Mason Wynn thing leading off for only 3-3 on DK against Verlander. On DK, you can play Bryson Stott here. He's expensive at 5-1, but he is a lefty. And they're supposed to bring a righty, I think, Bryce Wilson after the opener. So Stott likely won't see the opener unless they leave him in for longer than expected. So I guess he's okay in the Philly stack.
Okay, take me to the outfield.
To the outfield. Yeah, obviously good stuff here. Lefties in the outfield for the Reds against Feltner. TJ Friedl leading off. Jake Fraley's in there hitting 5th. Nick Martini's hitting 7th. I mentioned Spencer Steer at first. You can also play him in the outfield for 5-9 on DK. Let's see. Mike Yastrzemski, did he make the lineup? If he did, he's a decent value.
He got
3-1.
moved down a little bit, but he's in there.
Okay.
Because Conforto is back, which I didn't know was going to happen.
Oh, well, that makes the Giants look a little better, I think. Conforto's probably pretty cheap also. I haven't looked yet. Tatis in a Padres stack. Jackson Merrill, a cheaper option in the Padres stack. Anderson's been vulnerable to lefties over the years, so I don't hate guys like Merrill or Arise if you're stacking the Padres. Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker against Kyle Gibson obviously look terrific at the top of that lineup. For Colorado, Brenton Doyle hitting 5th looks decent. Yeah, outfield's not as great as it is. Like, we don't have the Yankees, we don't have the Dodgers, anything like that. So even outfield on this slate looks kind of underwhelming.
Okay. Cheese, anything that you prefer there?
3 of my 4 favorite plays on the slate are Tucker, Alvarez, and Schwarber. I mentioned kind of at the top. I don't just love full stacking, but the 2 big Astros and the 2 big Phillies, the lefties, Harper, Schwarber, Tucker, Alvarez, those are my favorite plays on the slate. I think Tatis will be the chalkier spend-up outfielder. I'm certainly fine with him as well. The Reds are tricky to figure out. It's like they're all fine, but I never feel like fantastic paying $5,000 for TJ Friedl. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, he's in a stack. It's fine. But I can get Jordan Alvarez for $1 more, I'll do that. I love Jock Peterson, pretty mid-tierish on both sites. The Rockies, cheaper right-handed outfielders, Goodman and Bouchard, I like. Pretty good bit. And I'm also just as happy going to the bottom of the Reds with Martini and Benson. Saves a few dollars over Friedel and Fraley. They've all got some power. Plenty of cheap stuff to like. You mentioned Yaz or Badusky, who I do like. Alec Burleson I like quite a bit. David Dahl, I had no idea he was still playing baseball at all. I think he played one game in 2022 or something, but apparently he's still around and he's $2,000. So I do like him. And I think that's all I want to highlight, but there's plenty.
The people want some home run calls. We've got about 8 minutes here until lock. They want some bomb calls. Cheese, what do you got for
them? Gunnar Henderson, Nolan Gorman, and Eliris Montero.
Very nice. Taylor, you got a few names as well?
Sure do. Let's go Kyle Schwarber. Let's go Paul Goldschmidt. And for the randoms, let's go Hunter Goodman.
Very good, gentlemen. We have 7-ish minutes here. Plenty of time to dive into some QQs. So make sure you're hitting us with the thumbs up. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, free content doesn't get better than that. Free $99 is the price. And all we ask is that you hit us with a little thumbs up. We start with a weather question from Wolf. He says, Roth, when you say there could be a delay in DC or Philly, but to play those games anyways, are pitchers safe? I have a lot of Gore and Wheeler. Safe is a word that I just loathe because anything can happen. But I think the delay chances are 10% or less. So it's, in my mind, safe enough. But it's certainly not safe. Yeah, sure.
The squad ride today is a pitcher in one of those games. Over strikeouts.
It'd be awesome if that happens, and then the whole company shits on me. That'd be awesome. Yeah. The risk is low, right? Anything that you're doing in DFS, there's risk, and there is a risk of a delay. It's a low risk, and I think you just roll those dice. Is that insane, Cheese, or does that make sense?
That makes sense. I'm not changing anything. I have a ton of pitchers in Philly and in the Washington game, and I'm just playing them all.
Yeah, I think play them all, and I'm not even I don't even think you should be that nervous about it. I think it would take legitimately bad luck. Crazy Coop says, Taylor, X out Coors DK single entry, 1 stack to rule them all tonight. Okay, so not including the Coors game, 1 stack to rule them all.
I would say it's the Padres, but I don't think they're going to be sneaky. But you don't really have to be that sneaky in a single entry, so I guess I would say Padres.
Okay. Let me see. I got another weather question, but I need to navigate to Weather Edge to answer it here. He said, I heard there's a heat wave in the Intermountain West. Is this a boost to bats in Colorado? Based on a 230-game sample size at Coors, these weather conditions, temperature of around 83 degrees, winds blowing lightly across the field, leads to a 5% increase in home runs and a 4% increase to total runs. So yes, it helps, but negligibly. Well, we're looking for 30% increase to home runs, 15% increase to runs.
If you're not even at a double-digit bump in over 200 games, it's no. The answer is no.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Just say no.
Okay, no. The answer is no. It is negligible. The answer is yes, but not a lot. It's no. All right, fine. It's no. Thoughts on Eovaldi? And if you needed 3 different pitchers in a FanDuel GPP, Cheese, who would you take?
Definitely not Eovaldi. He only threw 37 pitches in his first start off the IL. So even if you bump him 30 more pitches, which would be a ton, he's unusable. So definitely no for me on that. 3 on FanDuel would be Wheeler, Skubal, and Gore. Just spend up and get the good ones.
Very nice. FanDuel Cash 2v2, Taylor, Harper and Jock Jams, or King Tuck and Moreno?
First one sounds a bit better.
DK GPP Nelson or Howard? Taylor, I'll go to you again here. DK GPP Nelson or Howard?
It's neither, but it's Nelson because Howard is not start. He's going to be like presumably the long reliever, and he only threw, I think, like 47 pitches in his last outing. So Nelson has the longer leash in theory, so I'd side with him.
Okay. Tom says, is McGill and Waldron the best DK cash pitchers? You kind of like that. That was maybe your favorite single entry. Is that the cash build? That seems crazy.
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, it's not that hard to get Wheeler. I would do Wheeler Waldron. It's just not that tough to get him.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, make sure you're signing up for RotoGrinders Premium. By the way, never a better time to join. Get yourself a 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price $469.99. That's a savings of $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months. And right now, you can get your first month of RG Premium $40 off for a limited time. And if you just want a test run, by the way, 3-day pass, $19.99. That is cheaper than a trip to Subway. $19.99. That's amazing. What else do we got? Favorite outfielder, Cheese, and DK Cash, 3,400 and under.
Yes, Yastrzemski.
Okay. Cheese, do you like Vientos in single entry from Dan Jan? Vientos.
Not really.
No, okay, not particularly. Taylor, coming over to you here. Eric says, I've got 20% Feltner. How crazy am I? This is on DK.
The craziest man of all. I think that's a lot of Brian Feltner. I don't really know why.
Oh, okay. Okay. Pretty crazy is the answer, apparently.
Yeah.
Taylor, do you like the Mets as a single entry play on DK?
I think it might be a bit thin for single entry, but I do think it's okay. They get a park upgrade, and Gore is not necessarily fully established. So, yeah, you can do it. It's not my favorite thing, but I don't mind it.
Okay. Favorite Padres to stack in a DK large field tournament, Cheese?
Is that lineup out? I have not seen it yet.
I have not seen it either.
Okay. If we assume it's what we have, like, I think the interesting thing would be to play Solano instead of Machado, and then you have some money, and then play at least one lefty, just so you're a little different. I think I would lead Cronenworth because I don't like the second base option. So give me Tatis, Profar, Solano, Cronenworth.
Okay, perfect. Where are we at here? Taylor, Bohm or Profar last piece in FanDuel tournaments?
Bohm.
Taylor, how do I fit Tucker, Altuve, Alvarez, and the Stros in a DK tournament? Cheap pitchers?
Yeah, you got to go cheap pitchers or at least one cheap pitcher and cheap stack with them.
Yep. Cheese, we've got less than a minute until lock. Power says, would you do 3 Giants and Bregman or 3 Reds and a punt large field tournament?
Do the Giants and Bregman.
Cheese, thoughts on Yandy Diaz and Gurriel?
I kind of like Gurriel. Yandy's stack only for me.
Okay. Taylor, DK GPB from Jake, Corbin Carroll, or Will Benson? I'm stacking the D-backs and Reds.
Benson.
John says, Taylor, Gorman or Rogers on DK?
I think Rogers will be a lot more popular. So I'd say Rogers, single entry, Gorman, larger field.
Chili Chill says, is the Mets top 4, Cheese, a sneaky stack over on FanDuel?
I mean, it's sneaky in that it's low owned. I don't personally like them, but I mean, those are 4 good hitters and it's baseball. So, I mean, you're welcome to do that. I don't have them personally.
Okay. Cheese, Grayson Waldron or Verlander Gaussman?
So, honestly, I have 0 Grayson and 0 Verlander. I think Verlander Gaussman is the more air quotes correct answer. I would play Grayson Waldron.
Okay. Rocket Sauce says, Taylor, got to play Waldron on FanDuel, wouldn't you say?
I would not say that.
You would not say it. Okay.
No.
Any interest in the Giants? Either of you? We have hit the lock by the by. Any interest in the Giants?
We've
Yeah, we
talked
both
about them a little
mentioned
bit.
some Giants, yeah. It's not like amazing, but they're facing Ryan Nelson. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a
I'm
couple more
interested in
questions.
you against Ryan Nelson, Kevin.
I wouldn't recommend. I'm horrible at baseball. Very, very.
So
bad.
is Ryan Nelson. This is the point.
All right. Okay. Fair. We'll take the last couple questions that we already have in, and then we'll bounce out of here as it is locked. Brendan says DK Cash, Tovar Bouchard, or Ellie and Dahl. I didn't say who that was for.
First one for me.
First one. Okay.
Yeah. It's locked, but that's what I would do is Ellie and Dahl.
Okay. This one may be locked as well from Chris Brown, Altuve, Alvarez, Cheese, or Marte and Walker.
So that's a good one. I love both those combos. I guess I lean slightly Altuve, Alvarez, but really like both those combos.
Okay. Last question was from Dan Jan Cheese. Any interest in Senzel in single entry?
Not really. Like if you have to have someone at that price range, like if you have another $1 for Suarez, I would do that. None of those guys are great though. So I mean, you're just kind of throwing some random person in there and hoping to get lucky.
Yeah. Okay. Hoosiers Hang Banner says I just pulled some Stouffer's lasagna out of the oven. That sounds delicious. Cheese, is it going to be leftovers tonight? Wedding leftovers?
Yeah, it's going to be leftovers for a while.
Yeah.
But there's good. I mean, there's a lot of dessert too, so it's going to be fine.
Oh man, it's going to be a good night. Taylor, you got dinner plans? I mean, it's basically lunchtime where you live, so probably not.
Yeah, there's a sandwich shop here called Ike's that they have. I don't know if they have it in the East, but just opened up one around here, so we're going to check it out.
It's going to be an Ike's night. That sounds delicious. I have no idea. I might order a pizza. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. But I have figured out that we have hit the lock, and we're going to bounce on out of here. So for Taylor, for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been great.